Have you ever felt a knot of dread tighten in your chest as you worry whether you'll be able to perform when it matters most? What if that fear of failure is secretly sabotaging your confidence long before you even step into the bedroom? Imagine mending not just your body, but the emotional bond with your partner, without resorting to quick fixes that only mask the real issue. Hello everyone, welcome back to Senior Health Essentials, your go-to channel for practical, science-backed tips to help us all live longer, feel stronger, and stay sharp to our golden years. And today, we're tackling a topic that too many men feel embarrassed to discuss: erectile dysfunction. You might think ED is only about what happens in intimate moments, but in truth, it seeps into nearly every corner of life, undermining self-worth and creating emotional distance between partners. I've worked with men from their late 40s to their 80s who describe the same sensation. A slow erosion of confidence that begins the moment they suspect things might not work as they used to. Picture Mark, a 52-year-old accountant I remember working with. He was the guy who told jokes at family gatherings, who confidently planned weekend road trips with his wife. But as Ed crept in, Mark became withdrawn. He began avoiding eye contact, sidestepping hugs, and making excuses to sleep on the couch. His wife, Sarah, puzzled by his sudden coldness, felt rejected and started to question her own attractiveness. Both of them slipped into a silent struggle. Mark's fear of disappointing Sarah became a self-fulfilling prophecy, and Sarah's confusion only fueled his anxiety further. Over time, their marriage began to feel like a house with crumbling walls. That's the heart of part 1. Recognizing how erectile dysfunction extends far beyond a single failed encounter. It chips away at self-confidence first. You may tell yourself, "I'm just tired," or "it's stress." But deep down, you sense something more profound is happening, an invisible thief quietly stealing your self-image. The moment you start doubting yourself, that doubt becomes a barrier. Your mind, distracted by fear, sends stress hormones like cortisol coursing through your system, constricting blood vessels and making it even harder for an erection to occur. It's a vicious cycle. The more you worry, the less your body cooperates, and the more frustration mounts. Emotionally, ED can create a chasm between partners. When you avoid physical closeness, avoiding a simple kiss or brushing hands, you unintentionally send a message: "I'm not interested." Your partner may believe you're losing desire for them, when in reality, you're trapped by fear of failure. Over time, that silence grows into resentment, eroding intimacy and trust. It's heartbreaking to watch couples who once felt inseparable drift apart because neither one wanted to confront the truth. But here's the hopeful twist: erectile dysfunction does not have to be a lifelong sentence. The remedies are within reach, and they can restore not only firmness and pleasure, but also the emotional connection you feared lost. From proven medical interventions to lifestyle modifications, like targeted exercises for pelvic floor strength, dietary changes that support healthy blood flow, and stress management techniques that calm a racing mind, there exists a roadmap to recovery. I've seen men in their 60s reclaim a vibrant sex life after embracing a comprehensive approach. It isn't just about popping a pill. It's about understanding your body's signals, building a supportive environment with your partner, and addressing both physical and psychological factors. Think back to Mark and Sarah. Their journey began the moment Mark admitted his fears, and they talked openly for the first time in months. That conversation, painful as it was, shifted everything. With professional guidance, personalized lifestyle adjustments, and clear communication, they rediscovered a level of intimacy they thought was gone forever. Mark didn't just regain his potency, he reclaimed his self-esteem, and Sarah felt the spark of affection reignite. So if you or someone you love is facing it, know this. The techniques we'll explore in this video series have already helped countless men transform their lives. You are not alone, and your situation is not hopeless. In the next segments, we'll dive deeper into actionable strategies, from medical treatments to holistic practices, that can bring back both your physical confidence and the emotional connection you crave. Stay with me because the solution might be simpler than you realize. Have you ever seen a once confident man quietly recoil from his partner's touch, as if an invisible wall has sprung up between them? This is not just about physical performance. It's about identity, intimacy, and connection, all of which can crumble when erectile dysfunction enters the picture. Today, we'll explore how it extends far beyond the bedroom, reshaping self-image, straining relationships, and trapping many men in an anxious cycle of fear and withdrawal. Imagine David, a 58-year-old retired firefighter, who prided himself on being the rock of his family. He and his wife, Mary, spent weekends hiking trails and planning lively dinner parties with friends. Then one evening, after a romantic dinner, David noticed his body didn't respond the way it used to. In those moments, a subtle panic rose in his chest. What if this keeps happening? That single thought was enough to change everything. By the next morning, David found himself avoiding eye contact, hugging Mary less often, and sleeping on the couch, convinced she'd be less disappointed if they simply drifted apart. Loss of a firm erection, as David experienced, chips away at a man's self-image. He once viewed himself as capable and desirable, but it sent a message that his body had betrayed him. Rather than facing the problem head-on, he pulled back from any hint of affection. But here's a question for you. When one person withdraws, does the relationship really know how to stay close? In David's case, Mary felt more distant than ever. Her playful touch went unanswered, and she began to wonder if she was no longer attractive. Without open communication, Mary assumed David had lost interest in her entirely. That silence created a barrier thicker than any physical distance, one that nearly toppled their years of shared memories. Anxiety about sexual performance often ignites a vicious cycle. The fear of failure becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, blocking arousal before it even begins. Each unsuccessful attempt sends cortisol surging through the body, constricting blood vessels and making a firm erection even more elusive. David, fearful of disappointing Mary, tried less and less. Each new attempt felt increasingly pressured, fueling a growing sense of frustration and shame. His self-esteem plummeted as he thought, "If I can't perform now, will I ever be the man I once was?" This anxious withdrawal doesn't stay confined to bedroom boundaries. It seeps into daily life, making even simple interactions feel fraught. Remember that David used to be the guy who fixed a leaky faucet and reassured his daughter before her final exams? Now he hesitated when challenged, doubting his ability to solve problems or be a pillar of strength. Mary noticed changes too. David was no longer the cheerful companion she married. Instead, he seemed preoccupied and irritable. Their dinner conversations, once filled with laughter, became quiet affairs. Without recognizing the root cause, Mary wondered if she'd done something wrong or if David simply didn't care about family life anymore. It's crucial to understand that erectile dysfunction is rarely the beginning of the end. Instead, it's often a call to address deeper emotional and communicative challenges. For David and Mary, the turning point came when David admitted his fear. "I'm terrified that I'm letting you down." That admission cracked open the wall of silence. Once Mary understood that it wasn't about desire but about fear, she offered reassurance instead of judgment. They began to explore solutions together, starting with medical evaluations to rule out underlying health issues and then moving toward behavioral strategies that reduce stress and anxiety. By facing the emotional dimension of ED directly, couples can replace silence with support. If you or your partner feels caught in this cycle, ask yourself, what barriers are we building with our silence? How might honest conversation begin to heal those walls? Remember, a relationship thrives on open communication. When fear rules the moment, it disrupts the signals your body needs to respond, and before long, an isolated issue becomes a shared struggle. Erectile dysfunction doesn't have to mean emotional withdrawal or marital decay. With empathy, understanding, and practical guidance, couples can rediscover intimacy and rebuild confidence, physically and emotionally. In our next segment, we'll dive into specific strategies to interrupt this cycle, from stress reduction techniques to supportive exercises that strengthen both body and bond. Stay with us, because with the right approach, you can reclaim not only firmness, but also the trust and closeness that make any relationship flourish. You already know that erectile dysfunction is not just in your head, but to fully understand why it happens, let's look under the hood at the physical and medical contributors that set the stage for ED. These factors often overlap, so by the end of this segment, you'll see why addressing one area alone may not be enough. Let's dive in. First, circulatory issues are often the smoking gun behind weak or fading erections. Picture a garden hose that's been left out in the sun for years. At first, water flows just fine, but over time the rubber stiffens, kinks appear, and the steady stream of water slows to a trickle. In our bodies, arteries are like that hose. As we age, they lose their natural elasticity, and small obstructions from plaque or inflammation begin to form. When blood can't rush into the penis quickly and fully, erections become soft or disappear altogether. Consider Jim, a 62-year-old grandfather who noticed that after a long day of yard work, his feet would feel cold and tingly, signs that blood flow wasn't reaching the extremities as it should. If this reduced circulation impacts his legs, it's also affecting his ability to achieve and sustain an erection. The good news? Focusing on cardiovascular health through regular aerobic exercise, a heart-healthy diet, and blood pressure control can help keep those hoses supple and unblocked. Next, let's talk about hormonal shifts. Testosterone, the hormone most of us associate with male vitality, naturally declines by about 1 to 2% per year after age 30. For some men, that drop is slight and barely noticeable. For others, the change can tip the balance between a healthy libido and persistent ED. Think of testosterone as the volume control on your stereo system. When it's cranked up, you feel energized, sexually responsive, and confident. As it dials down, it's harder to get in the mood, and your body responds more slowly to stimulation. Take Bill, age 55, who used to wake up every morning wanting to leap out of bed. Lately, he's noticed less interest in intimacy and more fatigue. A simple blood test revealed his testosterone was below the normal range. With medical guidance, Bill started a modest testosterone replacement program, paired with strength training to boost his natural production. The result? He reported improved energy, better mood, and firmer erections over time. Now, let's strengthen our foundation by examining pelvic floor weakness. You might be surprised to learn that the tiny muscles at the base of your pelvis play a huge role in erectile function. Over decades, those muscles, responsible for controlling urine flow and supporting the bladder, can lose tone and strength. When pelvic floor muscles weaken, it becomes harder to keep blood trapped in the penis long enough to maintain firmness. It's like trying to hold a door closed with a broken hinge. No matter how much pressure you apply, it won't stay shut. Performing daily Kegel exercises, tightening and releasing those muscles, can restore strength. Imagine a hammock that sags when the ropes fray. By repairing and reinforcing the ropes, i.e., your pelvic floor, the hammock holds your weight effortlessly again. Men who commit to Kegels for just 10 minutes a day often report noticeable improvements in erection rigidity within a few months. Next, anxiety and stress can sabotage everything we've covered so far. When you step into the bedroom already worried about whether you'll rise to the occasion, stress hormones like cortisol surge through your bloodstream. Instead of blood flowing into penile tissue, it's diverted to your brain's fight or flight center. Chronic stress, from work pressures, financial concerns, or family responsibilities, creates a constant undercurrent of tension that makes healthy erections nearly impossible. Have you ever tried to think about anything else when your heart is racing? It's tough. You may feel tempted to just try harder, but forcing it only deepens the cycle of anxiety. The key is to learn relaxation techniques, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or even guided imagery to calm the mind and allow circulation to flow freely. Many men find that practicing mindful meditation for 10 minutes before bedtime not only reduces anxiety but also improves sleep quality, further supporting erectile function.